Heather Kinney, the formation team advisor for the Paulist Fathers. I also work as a project assistant for Paulist Evangelization Ministries. So the formation team, the director of formation, the director of novices, myself, we work directly with the student seminarians during their time in seminary. So working with them on their ministerial formation, their spiritual formation, their intellectual formation, their human formation in preparation for the Paulist way of life and ordination. I specifically work with the seminarians on their ministry placements. So while they're in formation, they are actively engaged in ministry in various parishes here in the DC area. So bringing my experience of parish ministry from the past 2 decades or so, I'm able to offer some guidance and support and wisdom to the students on navigating parish life, the life of ministry. As a practicing Catholic, I was not always. My family, when I was younger, we were not church-going. It wasn't that I didn't have a belief in God, but for various reasons, we were not practicing. And so it wasn't until college when a friend of mine in my residence hall had invited me to go to church with her. And then she invited me on a particular retreat. And so a bit of a cliche in that I walked in and never looked back. And so my own involvement in campus ministry grew, but at the same time, I also entered the RCIA process to prepare for the sacraments of confirmation and First Eucharist. And so that invitation from my friend changed the trajectory of my life in a way that I never would have expected. I changed my major from journalism to religious studies in the middle of my junior year of college. And I ultimately opted for a career in ministry, which I have been doing ever since. So when I was a sophomore, it was the spring semester of my sophomore year at the University of Missouri, and one of my classes was a reporting class for one of the 2 city newspapers. And I was working a general assignment shift one Saturday morning in the newsroom, and my editor assigned me the obituary of a 15-year-old boy who had died of cancer. And I don't remember the boy's name, but I do remember dreading the phone call I would need to make to his family. But I also remember his mother's profound gratitude that I wanted to know about her son, whom she loved so dearly. But as we were talking, I knew that this obituary was going to be like every other obituary in the day's paper, 3 inches of text. And I remember hanging up with the boy's mother and thinking to myself, everyone deserves more than 3 inches. And so when people ask me now, how I got into ministry, I often think of that story. It's not one at the time that I could have articulated as my call to ministry, but it certainly speaks to not wanting to be the reporter who had to call this boy's mother, but wanting to be the person who sat with her when the reporter called. And so ministry has become what allowed me to embrace the joy of being in direct service. What would become ministry? Again, I could not have articulated this 20 years ago, but the way that situation or experience planted the seeds for what would enable me to accompany people of all ages, as they're wrestling with life's ultimate questions of faith and meaning and belonging and purpose. I would say broadly, in all of my ministries, I hope I'm modeling well that the sacramental priesthood is not the only way to serve as a leader with impact in the Catholic Church. But in this ministry specifically, to have a woman engaged in the formation of future priests, specifically building on my own decades of experience of working in parish ministry and working in campus ministry. The fact is that our future priests are going to interact with women as colleagues, as parishioners. And so how is it that the voice of women can be lifted up and heard and included at the table? And I have been blessed that the Paulists have recognized that as an important part of the work of formation, that a woman's voice is a voice to be included and to be heard. My hope is that any Paulist who is ordained continues to thrive and grow into his identity as a Paulist. You know, that formation does not end at ordination, that we are all on this journey of lifelong formation, of growing into who God wants us to be and growing into that more fully through all of the experiences that we have. So it's my hope that anytime someone is ordained, that he carries that spirit of lifelong formation with them, that we're not done learning, that we're not done experiencing how God might be calling us to grow and to change and to embrace who we are more deeply and more fully.